Somehow we're gonna get there and feel so wonderful. Are we live yet?
It's all for real. I'm telling you just how I feel.
Beautiful. Hey, it's not lagging anymore, so we got they can see and hear our iCarly cover beautifully.
No wonderful intro that I spent many hours on late last night, so we're just going the regular way because now I finally see a green connection here, so we should be fine now.
I'll close out my OBS then. We should be good to go.
Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. We apologize for the slight delay. Had to get the dryers off the track.
Yeah.
Lightning delay, but it was only for 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're running dangerously. You never know. Something could strike at any second.
Also, like I was telling these guys, I did get a copyright claim for what I did, so I'm not going to do that.
For our iCarly singing? Were we that good?
Yes. No, for
I need to go pro.
I'll probably take that thing I worked on and just post it to Twitter or something like that.
Well, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about. We are behind. Let's talk about Martinsville.
Indeed, I don't even know where to start. Penultimate race of the season.
Where do we start?
Yeah, I mean it was.
Yeah, let's just go with that.
Can you hear me, Jarrett?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh, okay. It was weird.
Sorry,
You're talking over. Like it was like we were talking over each other in a weird way. I was like, "Is one of us delayed?" Sorry.
It might be on my end a little bit.
It seems normal now, so I don't know what it was.
All right.
Sorry.
So Chase Elliott finally gets redemption for Martinsville.
Yes, really. He really does. It is fitting that he got, I would say, the biggest win of his career at Martinsville, a track that, in 2017, he was this close to pulling off the upset and sneak into the championship for that year. But, I mean, overall, there's a number of ways to look at this race. I thought it was an extremely, if we just look at it as a NASCAR race by itself, I thought it was an extremely interesting race. Fantastic racing throughout. A lot of comers and goers, differing strategies. The playoff guys were always on top of each other. And, I think, the final 100 laps was some of the most interesting racing I've seen in my life as a fan. And I think largely that was because of how the points were shaping up with, Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski separated by, 1, 2, 3, 4 points for pretty much the entirety of that final stage. I think that was dramatic, and watching Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. battle for the win only amplified it even more, made the Harvick, Hamlin, Keselowski battle that much more intense. So I thought I first want to commend NBC. I was talking to my dad about this the other day, but he made it clear. He made a good point that NBC did a great job of showing a lot of split screens and showing the Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin battle at the same time they were showing Chase Elliott taking the lead. At the same time they were monitoring Kevin Harvick's pursuit of Brad Keselowski. They did a great job of covering all the stories in real time, and I think that's what made the racing that much more fun to watch, because I really felt invested and I understood all of the scenarios. So I thought it was great if we just look at it as a standalone race, but when you factor in the points and everything that was on the line at the end there, I'm sure everyone will have we'll talk about the actual playoff format and everything and everyone's opinion on that, but just for what it was, I thought it was incredibly engaging and incredibly entertaining. So I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic race.
Well, for me, if it's Martinsville, I can't be overly upset. Everyone has seen at this point and knows my stance on the format overall. So I don't really, as a fan at least, I don't really put much stake in the championship. I watch the racing strictly, almost strictly for the racing. And the racing was really good. It was a lot better than it was back in, was it June? I think it was June. Might have been May, but I'm pretty sure. Early in the summer. Mm-hmm. It was better than it was early in the summer. I think there was a lot more competition, both at the front, even though I believe Elliott dominated the laps led, but it didn't feel like it was a dominant race by any means. There was a lot of racing throughout. I wish that they would utilize that kind of split screen when it's not the championship battle either. like I feel like NBC is like on the verge of greatness with this. And it's not something that's difficult either. Other TV providers have done it, but there was tons of racing all over the track. And they did a great job in covering it. I just wish that was the standard, not just like raising the bar there. That's something I think they should look at more for next year. But overall, I thought it was about a 9 out of 10 race. It was probably the best Martinsville race that, in my opinion, since, do I want to say 2017 fall? the ending of that was pretty fun, even though the majority of the fans might disagree with me.
2018 fall. I don't remember 2018 fall the full race, but it had a great finish with Truex and Logano.
Great finish.
Well, I was there for 2017 fall, so yeah, that was a good race. So
yeah, I'd say that. So it's been the best Martinsville race in the past 3 or so years. I think we all can agree it was better than the 2019 races.
Yes,
let's be real. But yeah, man, I enjoyed the race on its own. Whatever we think about the playoff format, we can or don't have to talk about that if we don't want to.
We're
or we can talk about it. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it. Let's be real.
Yeah, like, come on.
But
I think all of us did videos on it this week.
Yeah, we all did.
And we covered all ends of the spectrum too. Yeah. that's the part I find funniest of it. But overall, the race itself I liked.
Has anyone offered like a solution to our playoff format? Have you guys thought about that?
Well,
we all know where I stand.
So yeah, we'll get into it in a second. But I want to hear what you thought of the race, Danny.
The race itself was definitely entertaining from all aspects of it. From could Truex win? Could Chase win? Could someone pull off an upset? Like it had it all. It was what you look for in a good short track race, and so much more was on the line. And in the end, it was definitely a winner that the fans go home happy with, and brings in a lot of momentum. You have your biggest star win right before the championship race. It's a good thing for NASCAR.
Yeah, I think it's certainly for a number of reasons. Elliott obviously winning, like you said, the most popular driver, getting that huge win. And I said it's the biggest win of his career. I believe he's arrived. This is maybe we're seeing his first big Jeff Gordon-like moment. I mean, we've seen glimpses of greatness, but this is the year. 4 wins now, career high. Like he willed that team to victory. I think, we didn't mention it yet, but in those last 100 laps, he had 2 bad pit stops from his pit crew. I mean, the Jackman, saved it from being even worse by, resetting his position and reading more of the rule book than any of us have ever read apparently. But even then, Chase Elliott had to pass a lot of cars at a track that's not easy to pass in a short amount of time. I thought this was as impressive. I don't think it was quite as impressive of a drive as what he did at the Roval last year, because that track, the way he was past people there, didn't think it was possible. But given all that was on the line, I thought this was the greatest moment of Elliott's young career. And so I think that was something that was sort of overshadowed in the post race. Was all the focus obviously was on the playoffs and the shocking upset that Harvick would be out and everything, which rightfully so. But I don't think enough credit was given to Chase Elliott for how he basically put the team on his back at age 24 and won the biggest race of the season so far and got him in the championship for. So that's all that was my biggest takeaway was, wow, Chase Elliott is, he's not the choker that he was maybe 3 years ago that everyone liked to throw around and maybe was rightfully deserved at the time. He's not that anymore.
And even then, in those years, I never thought he was bad. He just never had, the luck on the side. He had lots of races where he definitely could have won. And even this year, you look at how many races, I think really, if something hadn't gone wrong, I think Chase Elliott would actually be about a 6 to 7 win season this year.
I'm sorry, my meme brain is rolling right now with that putting the team on my back with this Darren Sharper. No, but I agree. What I really appreciate about Elliott so far, and I didn't beforehand, I've had to learn to appreciate, Elliott's career, especially since the Watkins Glen win in 2018, is that he wins on many different kinds of tracks. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, he's known for the road courses, which I mean, the road courses right away, that's a talent-based track if there ever was one. But then he's, winning at short tracks. He's winning at intermediates, winning at super speedways. Make of that what you will. So he's winning at many different places. And I think that's something right there that puts him a little bit above where, some of the other young drivers, like a Blaney might be sort of winning at the end or winning a lot of super speedways. 10 wins at this point. It's funny. A lot of people had talked about for years how, they always put Clint Bowyer up there as like a top 10 driver, a championship contender. Well, Chase Elliott in 5 years has the same amount of wins as Clint Bowyer and the same amount of wins as someone like Sterling Marlin, who by many is a very great driver.
This is his 5th year. And granted, his first 2 years, he went winless. He's now caught up so much. Yeah, his first 2.5. But now he's caught up so much. He now has an average of 2 wins per season in NASCAR.
Yeah, and I would say that he is definitely proving that he can really carry not only the team on his back, but I think in a lot of ways the fan base. I saw that I think there was a study this week that showed that he wasn't exactly like the top most known one outside the fan base, but of people inside the sport, being the most popular driver. It's a lot of pressure, and it seems like he's rising to the occasion. Whether he shows up this week at Phoenix or not, I don't know. He has speed there. He just hasn't had as much luck, but he's showing that he is somebody I think that could be up there with somebody like Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick for a few years to come. Forever, how long they run.
It's gonna be.
But he's pretty good.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this. I guess you call it the young class of drivers end up doing in the long run. But right now he's off to a good start. Now it'll be interesting to see kind of how Larson, now his teammate, kind of does like going against him. I feel like Bowman's shown some signs of improving towards the latter half of this year. So the whole Hendrick as a group may start to be able to compete against each other, but right now it looks like the 9 is in a different category. But be interesting to see who all can really catch up to where he's at. Larson has 5 or 6 wins in the Cup Series now?
6, I believe.
Okay, so he's ahead of him by 4. We'll see if he can get in there and catch back up. Hopefully, at least Bristol should play in his favor.
I don't want to put this kind of pressure on either of these drivers, but I am hopeful, and it helps, kind of that they're teammates. But I think Elliott and Larson over the next decade have the ability of being the closest thing we've seen to like Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, that rivalry in the mid to late 2000s. And I hope that's what it turns out to. I don't think Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, I don't think ever really hated each other or anything like that, but they would get on each other's nerves from time to time. And there's clearly a very strong competitive drive for each driver to beat the other driver. And I hope that's what happens with Larson. I hope Larson, goes out and wins 4 races next year. I hope Chase wins 5, and it just becomes like, that kind of rivalry. And I hope they're in the championship 4 almost every year because they're 2 really fun drivers to watch. And I think they both attract wide fan bases and create conversation around the sport. And that's what NASCAR needs is finally, after 3 or 4 years of hyping them up, we might be on the verge of that youth movement that we've been waiting for so long. And that's big. It's big.
Yeah. I think that what would really be, I think because I think what you said about like rising to the occasion with Elliott is right. I think that so far this is the biggest moment. And I personally think, whether it's this week or basically dominating the road courses, whatever it may be, I think he has made it, he's made a statement. But I think what would really open everybody up to fully accepting, and I know that this is going to go against like everything we said about, how he's overcoming, carrying the team on his back, doing this, and I'm going to talk about how he's going to win the crapshoot race here. But I think if he won like the Daytona 500 or something, that'd be the perfect scenario to show the whole fan base. It's like, he's won. He has the biggest crown jewel in our sport, kind of thing. I know that's a year, at least, half a year away, give or take. But I feel like there just needs to be that one big win that the media can focus on, where just everything lines up perfectly. I feel like with most of the big drivers from the previous generation, there was like that one big win earlier in their career that like proved they were there. Jeff Gordon, he won the Coke 600. You could say Matt Kenseth in 2000 winning the Coke 600 as a rookie. You can look at Dale Jr. 2001 Pepsi 400. Look at Jimmy Johnson. I'd say 2004 Atlanta for a lot of people, overcoming what they had to overcome there. There's so many of those. California 2005 Kyle Busch just going out there as a 20-year-old and winning. I think Elliott just needs that one where everyone just focuses in on it. He is the sole focus of what's going on. Because I feel like the coverages or the broadcast coverage of Harvick and Hamlin and stuff, I feel like it overshadowed what he was doing. I feel like that's like the story of Chase Elliott. He does something great as the most popular driver and somehow gets overshadowed. Mm-hmm. Like you wouldn't see this with like Dale Jr. or Bill Elliott, but you see, well, maybe you would have seen it with Bill Elliott. It seems like people always did that when I go back and watch broadcasts, but he just, it needs to line up perfectly, and the broadcast needs to focus on it and show like how great what he is doing is.
I thought it was.
So I guess that's my big take on it.
I thought it was interesting. I saw something. I think it came from Reddit. So someone took like all the previous points, like championship formats from the last however many years, if we were in the Winston Cup points, Harvick easily wins the championship, it looks like. If we go then to like every chase format aside from the original one, I think the top two was Elliott and Bowman the way it worked. And then we went to
Kyle Busch was up there too.
Kyle Busch is up there, and then not this current championship four playoff format, but the one before stages. I'm thinking the championship four would be Elliott, Logano, Hamlin, and Bowman. Actually, not Keselowski or something.
Well, that's a decent segue if we want to move on from Chase. I think we've given him his due that he didn't get on NBC the other night, but we can talk about the playoff controversy. We can also talk about I mean, it's kind of two conversations at once, because you have to have the actual conversation of, wow, Harvick got eliminated. What a story is that? And then we have to have the conversation I know we all want to have about our different take on the playoff format and how it works. So I guess I'll start out, and I'll just be basic with this. So Harvick gets eliminated by 1 point. And I know people are going to look at it and say, dude, he's got 9 wins this year. He's had one of the all-time better season than anyone's had in like 20 years, roughly, statistically speaking. And that's 100% right. That's why it's so shocking. I think ultimately it was a perfect storm against Kevin Harvick. I think what it took to knock him out of the playoffs by 1 point, mind you, one position on the racetrack, was Chase Elliott pulling off a very clutch victory from below the cut line. It took Harvick making a mistake, rain, of course, playing a factor at Texas last week, and him having his worst race of the season at Martinsville, at least unloading the worst he'd unloaded all season long, getting no stage points whatsoever. And it took, a little gamesmanship perhaps from the Joe Gibbs cars to make sure Denny Hamlin didn't lose any further positions. With all that considered, we will talk about that later. With all that considered, he still only missed out by 1 point. So it had to be difficult to stomach. I'll give Harvick some credit. He handled it with class, which, I don't know if I would have said that about Harvick 10 or 8 years ago, but Harvick now is one of the elder statesmen of the sports. I don't mean that in an offensive way, like, he's old, but like literally he is one of the most accomplished, and he is one of the leaders of the sport right now just because he's seen it all and he's won it all at this point. So I was really impressed with how he and Rodney Childers and that whole team sort of handled themselves, because obviously they're frustrated. If this was 2003 or earlier, he would have locked up the championship 2 weeks early. If this were the other formats, the past formats, he'd still maybe be eligible. It's difficult, and this is what I'm sure we'll get into in a second. But I think NASCAR's biggest mistake they've made the last 15 years with the playoffs is the fact that they've changed it so many times that no format now feels entirely legitimate. So everyone just reverts back to the Winston Cup era that lasted more than 30 years because that was around for a generation, So I think that makes it difficult, for Harvick and them to sleep after that race. But I do think it was kind of a perfect storm, unfortunately. So it really just deck was stacked against them.
So playoff points and stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, they came in with stage racing in 2017, correct? So that's 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't count that as the same as the 2014 to 16 one. No. I think we can all agree that was stupid and bad.
It was not great. It was a little too random.
Oh. Yeah. I actually thought that the playoff points and bonus points that year carried over. So when they started the next round without any, I was like, wait, what? Why is the person who was running first and second, people running first and second all year, tied with the guys running the all like 20?
I mean, that's how you had Ryan Newman, who ran 10th all year, almost win the championship. I mean, come on.
Yes. So my thing is, this current format we have now, and this goes back to what you're saying about changing the championship, being very delegitimizing to it. If we have this format for, I believe, 1 more year, it's either the second or third most tenured format in NASCAR history in Cup.
Gosh, yeah.
So that's why I think that's the biggest reason everyone reverts back to the old, I believe it's the lanyard system is what it's officially called. It's called the Winston system. I don't know. I saw it on Reddit. You really do love that system,
don't you, Jared?
I do. Now, I'm not going to argue whether or not that one's the best or not. I think that the reason that people look back at it as being the definitive system is more because it is the only system that was used for, over 5 to 8 years. But I'm not going to argue that we should bring it back. I personally think we should, but I think that so many years of having a chase and playoff format you can't bring it back now, just you poison the well, in my opinion. With I think if we're having this argument 10 years ago, I think you can make an argument to bring it back. But I mean, you have an entire generation of fans that are coming up right now that weren't even alive when this system was used last. As much as it hurts me to say, because I do think it is the most legitimate system. Like I'm never going to back down from that. Sure. I think it makes each race equally as important throughout the season. I think that it doesn't really over legitimize one over the other. You don't have with that one. The only way I think you could have made like big races like Daytona matter more in the championship sense is if you did like double points or some gimmick like that. But I'm not going to argue for that one. I would say, I think the biggest problem with this system, more or less, is that a lot of it has to do with luck. And I don't like the fact that people, and this can happen in a season-long format, and it's happened with the 10-race format before this. But what I don't like is being so open to bad luck, or in Harvick's case, NASCAR not calling a race or officiating a race safely and correctly to cost someone their championship. I don't like that being the fact, because if you look back at you can look at all three races and there is something that you can legitimately point to and say that right there is what cost Harvick. You have the 550 horsepower package where you can't pass really couldn't pass the leader at all that race, where Harvick was legitimately the best car out there at that point, and he couldn't get past someone to the point where third, fourth, and fifth are catching up, even though he was light years ahead of them. You'll get Texas, NASCAR, just, in my opinion, very, how do I put this without going too abrasive? Irresponsibly let them race when the track was obviously wet. They showed the onboard cameras when Harvick had that issue, and even before, and the onboard cameras were wet. So you have literally a rain, like NASCAR just being like, we're gonna let them race for a few laps. That their decision influencing what happens. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it wasn't on the radar.
That is true. That is true.
And then you have Harvick having his worst race. I'm not gonna make any excuses. Like Harvick,
that one was on them.
The bed. Yeah, they crapped the bed in that one. I don't like the fact that somebody who had statistically the best season consistently on track since Jeff Gordon in 2007. But if you look all around, best season since about 1996, and the best he can do is fifth in points. I don't like that at all. I know and this is the crux of the whole argument. It's personal preference. That's why there's no way you can legitimately win this one.
Even then,
like, no one can.
Even then, though, we can't just say, go back to the Winston points, because look at 2003. 2003 is the biggest example.
My thing is whether or not you want, if you want a legitimate one in the sense of legitimately entertaining, you go with this format. If you want one in legitimate in the sense of competition, you go with the Winston Cup format. And that's where the big dividing line right now is with fans. I'm more someone like, I'm okay if the championship is clinched weeks early. I personally am fine with it. If somebody is dominant like Harvick was or like Kyle Busch was last year, I'm okay if they win it. Because like I had said earlier, and I will continue to be this way as a fan, I don't really put emphasis on the championship as much. I put more emphasis on the individual races themselves. Now, I'm not going to say that somebody watching for entertainment is wrong by any means. If they want to watch it for that reason, because I personally think that racing on its own is entertainment. If you make good racing, people will watch. Like someone new coming in.
What's funny is you can still have entertaining battles even in the older ways, because look back to 2010. You didn't know who was going to win between Harvick, Johnson, and Hamlin. 2011, Stewart and Edwards literally tie, and they have to go back to Tony having more wins.
Well, both those did have a playoff format, so but not as convoluted as it is now, perhaps.
But it was one that was based more on points. And with that being said, I've took some time to kind of put together what I would do, what I would change to, and I took some things I like from the current way and some things I like from the old way. And we have a 36 race schedule, so 26 races are in the regular season. 10 races I would keep set aside for we'll call it the playoffs, just for the sake of the word. I I like stage racing, actually. I like stage points. I don't really necessarily like playoff points, but I like stage points. So I like the idea. Top 10 get 10, 9, etc. on the stage points. Your points for finishing positions, I always liked it when you got like 1 point for last, 40 points for first. I think that makes sense. I'm fine with winning you're in to get into the playoffs, but it goes away once the playoffs begin. Like, it doesn't matter when you're already in. So winning you're in, you get into, we can say 16, maybe 12 is a better number for that. We'll say 12. We'll say 12 people get into the playoffs here. And again, you get 40 points for first, all the way down to 1 point for dead last. 5 points for leading a lap. 5 points to the driver who leads the most laps.
Sure, 1 point. 5 points?
Yes.
For leading one lap? That's okay. That's a little. That's kind of a lot.
Wait, in a system that has only like
40 points for the win.
Leading one lap would be the equivalent of extra spots.
Okay, no.
I get what you're saying. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say 1 point for leading a lap then. That's
okay.
A little bit. 1 point for leading a lap. 5 points for leading the most laps.
Okay.
Let's see. There's no extra points for winning the race because you just get into the playoffs.
I do wish they still gave you a point for the most laps and things like that. I don't know why they took that away. I don't remember the reason for it, but I like that.
I think that gets us into the playoffs, and then you get 1 for 10 points depending on where you're at in the stages. So someone could potentially get 20 points per race on stage points. So
I think we both read this same comment.
Yeah, Darian said 1,000 points for a lap led.
Harvick's sitting there like I've already won it, even with the playoff format.
Okay, but then we get to a 10-race playoff schedule. There's no eliminations because we're going on points. So then there's no winning your end, so you have to have some kind of an advantage for winning a race in the playoffs. So if you win a race in the playoffs, and even if you're not in the playoffs, you'll get this. I'm going to say 15 points for winning a race in the playoffs, just because instead of having win advance to the next round, you need to have some kind of good thing for being the winner. So 15 points for winning a race. Maybe that helps someone get away. If it's a season like this, it might be a little bit more interesting. So I feel like we saw a fair amount of different winners in the playoffs this year. So then,
that's funny. I'm sorry. They got some good ideas. 500 points for throwing a football into the stands during a rain delay.
When we get to the playoffs, everyone resets with order even, but then you get 5 extra points per victory you got in the regular season, and then your regular season champion gets an extra 15 points to start the playoffs off, and then go for it like that. Best one wins.
Yeah, I mean that's okay.
It's nice middle ground.
It sounds
that's me just like spouting off what I think. I would be better if I actually wrote all this down better.
Sure. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about we heard Jarrett's perspective, and Jarrett's very much, you prefer the Winston Cup, the old, full season points format more or less. Yeah. I think I thought you laid out your argument because I do think I guess we can have this debate till the cows come. NASCAR ultimately, like you said, I don't think is going to change back to that playoff format anytime soon. Part of me wishes they still called it the chase. I'd like that NASCAR had kind of their own name for playoff. Like playoffs just doesn't work. That I think the name alone is a little bit of a mistake. But really, for me, what it comes down to is I like the current playoff format because to me, it's the perfect blend of rewarding consistency throughout the entire season, but also putting a little bit special emphasis on the final few races of the season when it's crunch time, clutch time, whatever you want to call it. And you could argue that's not necessary. I thought your point, Jarrett, that the old format places gives each race, which on the surface really each race is the same. It's not like the Phoenix race this weekend is going to be the exact same number of laps as the race in March. It's not like this race this weekend is a completely new experience for the driver. So I think that's a good point that the old format places the same amount of value on each race equally, and I think that's a good point. But I think this is a very abstract idea, but I think part of what NASCAR was thinking and why I think it's in the long run, I think this format can and will still succeed is NASCAR is an American sport, and you compare it to other American sports fans, and I do say, I don't think NASCAR's biggest competition is Formula One right now. I'll just be completely honest. I don't think there's that much crossover. I think NASCAR's biggest competition is everything else, is other sports. I mean, IndyCar a little bit, NFL, NBA, MLB. I think that is some of their more of their competition personally. And American sports fans are used to the idea of a playoffs. They're used to the idea that late in the season, games, races, whatever it may be, mean more, and that's when you're supposed to bring your best stuff when the pressure is on the line. And I think that's what NASCAR is going for with this format. And I think the fact that they included stage racing and the way playoff points transfer through the round, so that guys like Harvick and Hamlin, I mean, Harvick, I have the numbers pulled up. In the last 6 races, he only had one top 5, and that was that second place run at Kansas. He was 10th, 20th, and 11th in the round of 12, but he advanced to the round of 8 because of his really strong regular season, because of the playoff points transfer. There is an example of his full season consistency kind of bailing him out from having a pretty rough round. And then we already mentioned all the other things that despite his struggles in this last round, you're correct, Jared. A lot of it was bad luck, but to me, bad luck is going to exist no matter what playoff format you look at. Guys will blow an engine when they hadn't blown an engine all year, and it costs them the points. That's taken people out of championship battles for decades, things like that. So, I don't think that's necessarily exclusive to this format, other than when you get late in the season and it's kind of a 3-race schedule for a moment there. Yeah, each race matters a little bit more. So if you have a mistake in one of those races, it's more amplified than if you have a mistake in June, something like that. So you're right there. But, ultimately, I guess that's really my argument, is I feel like this is the best blend. And I'm really comparing this to all the other playoff formats from before it. I think this is the best version of the chase/playoffs since it was implemented in 2004. I've always said this: if NASCAR switched back to the old, full season schedule points, I would still watch. That wouldn't really turn me away. But I do think, NASCAR, the way NASCAR markets the playoffs, the way NASCAR is able to, hype up wins, like when Kurt Busch won at Las Vegas to clinch himself a spot in the next round, when Chase Elliott got the win at Martinsville and locked himself into the championship four. I think those stories are just huge for NASCAR's marketing. And I think they, the tight points battle we saw at the end of Martinsville, no matter how people felt about, how we got to that point, was exciting. Like I said, those last 100 laps was some of the most interesting racing I've seen as a racing fan, just following all the stories, and each position mattered so much. So I guess that's where I come from, is I like the current format, especially when you compare it to other playoff formats. But, I do agree with what you say. I hate it when people use the phrase like, this is not pure, like this is pure racing, this isn't pure racing. You use the phrase legitimate, like crowning a legitimate champion. I kind of like that word a little bit better, personally. So I think that is a little bit clearer. But ultimately, I think we are both in agreement. If NASCAR sticks with one format for a long period of time, over time, it does become the legitimate format. As new competitors get into the sport and understand that this is how NASCAR crowns its champions, they understand that they have to be good at those last 5 races of the season. Those are the tracks you got to focus on. That's what you got to do prep for in the shop. You got to bring your best cars to those races, things like that. Once it's understood by people who, are getting into the sport now, I think it becomes the culture. It becomes legitimate to the vast majority of fans. And I go back and say, basically, my final thing is NASCAR did not need to implement a playoff format in 2003 or 2004. They didn't need to. But since they did, I think this is the best format. It kind of is the best of both worlds. And it's even your example there, Danny, I feel like was pretty similar to the current format. It just yours just didn't include the knockout rounds. It still
mine more or less
wins and similar number of drivers and races.
This might actually be a good idea for an off-season video for me, but my version of it takes pretty similar to what we have, but it combines things I loved about the original Chase.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with some of what you said there. I do think, like, at the end of the year, you need to make sure at least that there's a reason for people to watch. One of my biggest gripes, though, a lot of people tell me this, is like, if somebody locked it up early, because like I went back and looked at even the 10-man chase and what it would have been like and all that stuff. Which, by the way, I think we're all in agreement. Like, name it the chase again. It sets it apart in that way. I mean, they even called it the chase for the Cup back in 2002 when there was like a 5-way battle for it. But
like, what are they doing by not being able to say that Chase wins the chase?
A lot of t-shirts.
There you go. It'd be great marketing. Chase for the Chase gets chased or something. One of my big gripes though too with it, and it's not something even having to do with the end of the year, but NASCAR naturally because it starts off with its most culturally significant race with the Daytona 500, tapers off throughout the year. And then you're going to football, baseball, whatever, as I drop my pen. You're going against all those different things. My deal is when you have more people watching, I could argue is when the season matters the least. Like this is something that even the old chase formats until 2013 could at least, I think, champion a little bit, is that if you miss a week or 2 or 3 weeks, like you missed a ton. Like you missed something that could have changed the entirety of the season with those. Whereas with this format, aside from if you look in if you still get local papers or you go on Bleacher Report or ESPN or something, look up where people finished, as long as you know who really won the races, you pretty much know what big thing happened in the grand scheme of the championship battle. Whereas with the old system, you miss a month and 4 or 5 races with that, you could have missed a ton. You could have missed so-and-so was 178 back. Now they're the points leader 5 weeks later. Or with the old chase format, you could be like, wow, so-and-so was, Brad Keselowski was 18th in points leaving Daytona, and now he just won Pocono and he's up to 12th. He might make the top 10 kind of thing. I think that's where I'm getting at. Is NASCAR focus is one of the places where I'm getting at is I think NASCAR, that it almost nullifies what a lot of fans feel at the start of it. Now they addressed it a bit with the playoff points, and that's why I think that this system is much better than the 14-16 system. I would argue the 14-16 elimination is the worst championship format possibly in NASCAR history. I mean, there's been some doozies back in the day, but we're not counting a champion based off how much sponsorship dollars we get. So we're doing better in some years. But I feel like I want to lay this out right now. I think this all is a preference argument. It's whether you prefer more of the playoff kind of style. I prefer more of the old school style. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong being a fan for either reason. I think, like I said, it's just a preference reason. My preference reason, I think, is just that I prefer that each race of the season matters about the same, and then more organically, without NASCAR having to write a rule into place, flows into a championship battle. I think that's a lot of the reason why. And you can look at even last year, I noticed this. 2018 had it a lot because of the Joey Logano championship, but I think that's more who won the championship was the big problem for the fans on that one. I don't think it was as much the format. But you look even last year, a lot of people, there wasn't as big a fanfare, both on social media, but also just in the viewership in general. The end of last year, we were up with TV ratings considerably until about 4 races to go, and then it just collapsed at the end. And there's times, drivers retiring, you can see this too, but the only year that's had any improvement in this, the way that NASCAR has said that they're doing this in a lot of ways to get people watching towards the end of the season, the only real improvement that you can really see a huge improvement year to year would be 2015. And that was more because we went to the NFL's time slot. So I just think that the reasons NASCAR gives for this system, I don't think are the right ways to go about it. Like, for instance, Danny, you talked about stage racing. I'm like I said, I'm an old school fan. I can live with stage racing. Just get rid of the cautions, and you will completely sell to me that it is a competition-based rule. But I can live with it, and it does reward where you are throughout the race.
Yeah, I think that's the part I like the most because I forget what year it was. I feel like I saw a lot of drivers who would just be like always up there at the beginning but never finish right. Like maybe it was the Red Bull days where I think Brian Vickers would usually be in the top a lot but wouldn't have a good finish to result for it.
Some of that too was Brian Vickers would go way over his head. But I think that's my whole deal with it. I think people will like to disregard the reasoning, but I think a lot of times the reasoning for these systems too is part of what makes it hard to get behind. I don't like trying to make something purposefully be all neck and neck at the end of the year when people have been legitimately better throughout the year, or even throughout the last 10 races.
Yeah, I think what you said there, though, the reasoning is why I think a lot of fans have been really slow to in many cases, fans have literally not warmed up to the playoff format or stage racing. I think it's because of the reasoning. Stage racing, you're kind of getting at, sure, part of it is to reward consistency throughout the race and give stage points for the playoffs things. But realistically, the number one reason was NASCAR was like, hey, here's a great way to, artificially bunch the field up for more exciting restarts and also give us a chance to wedge all of our TV commercials in so fans don't miss as much green flag racing, at least in theory. And I think that actually has happened a little bit. So there's pros and cons. And then with the playoff format, at least the current playoff format, you can argue that it's, we want, more exciting. It puts an emphasis on the end of the season. You got to be on your best, giving it your best effort late in the year. Like, okay, that's competition based, sure. But everyone knows that a lot of it is marketing. Sprint, of course, or Nexto, whoever was originally pushing for a playoff format. And then NASCAR continue to evolve it. And it's clear NASCAR said themselves they want to create more Game 7 moments. And I think that rubs some people the wrong way because it feels like then the drivers aren't the ones creating it organically. It is the sanctioning body building a playground that's going to create that artificially. And the word, I hate using the word artificial or arbitrary, whatever it may be, because ultimately all of sports is arbitrary. All the rules that NASCAR follows, even before 2004, are kind of arbitrary. The fact that we crowned a champion that way for 30 plus years was, just someone decided that. It was just some guy signed it on a paper and said, this is how we're going to do it. Like, it's all arbitrary, So I guess that to me, that argument sometimes falls on deaf ears that it's, that's the case. But I think you are getting at what I try to do is I try to understand where fans are coming from, fans who like it, fans who don't like the format or whatever it may be. I'm with you on stage racing. I don't mind the cautions at a lot of tracks, but especially at like road courses and super speedways, I don't think you need cautions to break it up. I always love stage racing for the fact that it rewards consistency throughout the race. I think that's the best part of it. But yeah, understanding why fans don't like something. And I think in NASCAR's case, understanding it and being honest, if not externally with everyone else, being honest internally, with the feedback they're getting and why people don't like it, I think is important. So I think it's good when people like us are able to have these conversations with 350 people watching who agree with some, disagree with others, things like that. I think it is good ultimately if we have to leave this on some sort of even ground, I suppose.
Like I said, it's just a matter of preference. I mean, there's like, if there was statistical ways to show like differences. I mean, like I said, you can look at TV ratings. I personally think only 2014 and 15. No, I don't even think 15. So I'd say 2014 and then 2018, 19, 20 could be the only ones TV ratings you can look at because there are other major factors like driver retirements and stuff like that. And NASCAR's just a different beast. They rely solely, basically, on the driver. I mean, a lot of people. It's a team sport, but let's be real.
Only one name.
Everyone's. Yeah, no one gave a crap who was driving in 2017. Or no one gave a crap that the Exalta 88 car in 2017 was red and looked like an old car. They gave a crap because of who was in the car. The same goes like we don't. If we're just watching like remote control cars go around, we have no care whatsoever. Oh, that one looks cool, whatever. It's the person in the car, and I think that's why you can't compare that. If it was like something like stage racing where you could see why it was put in place. I mean, you look at, and statistically, like debris cautions have plummeted since 2017. And in a lot of ways, that's good, because the debris cautions we do get nowadays are legitimate. Like the last 4 years, like I don't remember too many where you could say like, oh yeah, that's totally NASCAR doing that for competition. So. And for my case, I guess it kind of sucks that the one that I actually don't mind as much is the one that has the statistical basis for argument. But that's it's like I said, it's preference. None of us are ever going to win this argument. It's only a matter of really just what the fans decide, and at the end of the day, the fans kind of have to go with what NASCAR decides. But I would say if there's like. If NASCAR sees that it is the playoffs causing a tick up or a tick down or whatever way, I hope they just address it and they're just straight up about it, not trying to double down if it's not working or not trying to go overboard defending it when it is working, just being comfortable in their own skin. That's what, it goes back to what you were saying before, Eric, is that NASCAR's biggest problem is changing so much. And I think it's because under the Brian France era and even the start of this new era of leadership, it's NASCAR just hasn't been comfortable in its own skin. They got to be their own thing. That's the whole thing we were saying about the chase. Like a chase sets it apart as a playoff, but still is like it's still something completely different from NBA, NFL, any other sports league that we're really competing with, and it is different from any other racing league. That's there's so many aspects we could go about this. We could talk about this all night. I mean, it's 8 o'clock where I'm at right now. We could talk about it all night. We're never gonna get. We're stuck in the mud where we're at with
being a dead horse.
We might be able to pull Danny one way or the other here.
Danny, who's right? Oh, I know you gave us your playoff formula. You're kind of right in the middle. God darn fence sitter.
I know. I'm central here.
I think we've destroyed this topic we've mutilated it in about as worst way as we possibly can.
We can talk about it next year at this time.
Same time next year.
With that being said, though, Chase Elliott competes for the championship for the first time, and for the first time since 2016, we do not see a combination of Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., or Kevin Harvick competing for the championship.
The big three is officially dead. Hey, and Chevy's back. Look at Chevy, first championship for us since Johnson.
Yeah. That's I was looking at it and I was like,
the Camaro's first time making it.
Oh, that's so cute. Baby's first steps.
This is going to probably be an unpopular opinion, but I think the Chevy SS as a stock car race car looks better than the Camaro. That's just my preference. I know I'm probably going to get nailed the stake here for this one.
I mean, I commend the Gen 6 for at least the front half of the car does kind of look like the real car, So I do think the Camaro looks kind of cool there. But you're right. Once you really step back and look at it, you're like, I know that's a race car. They're pretending to be a Camaro. It's not. The Mustang, in my opinion, looks worse. I mean, it looks cool. It looks better than the Fusion, in my opinion, but it still don't really look like a Mustang.
It doesn't look like
at least they don't have the plate on the front like the old Fusions did in 2013. I remember every time they get into a crash or any little contact, it'd be like, oh yeah, there goes another Ford nose.
With that being said, though, we know who's competing for the championships, but there's already been a champion crowned. And, let's just go into this real quick and show you what we're talking about. We had the pleasure of talking with someone, and, here you go.
It's open up for him, trying to close in side by side with Leahy. Here comes Nick Ottinger with fresh tires in turn 4. He'll slice to the inside, side by side for the championship lead. White flag.
Let's see what Zelensky, if he has any counteract. Nothing. He just doesn't have the grip to fight off Nick Ottinger as he starts to get away from him.
The strategy called to save a set of tires. Multiple green-white checkers. The 25 of Ottinger in position to win a championship.
Been in this series for so many years. Right now, it's good enough for 4th on track. Shearburn going to be the first out of 4. He'll win the battle, but it is Nick Ottinger who wins the war. Nick Ottinger, the 2020 eNASCAR champion. 6th and now 5th actually on the all-time start list is now $100,000 richer. And you can see guys as overcome with emotion.
He puts so much into this. Nick is a great guy who just puts his heart and soul into sim racing. Got linked up with William Byron earlier this year and just puts a lot into this. And he knew, you can just see how much it means to him to get this championship.
This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Talking about good stories, how about the burnout for Chris Shearburn, race winner, and now the family has joined Nick Ottinger. I saw his William Byron Esports teammate come up and congratulate him on the back straightaway. And, the $100,000 is one thing, guys. I mean, that is life-changing money for Nick Ottinger. He now gets to do his burnouts. But for a guy who has been such a long time force to be reckoned with at this level of sim racing, we talk about how difficult it gets to perform at this level year over year. For one of the veterans to get the job done, I think maybe is just as rewarding.
That emotion has nothing to do with money. That emotion right there is all the hard work, the years and years of work paying off with the championship.
Hey, Nick. Hey, William. Daniel Baldwin from NASCAR Rookie Podcast. really just want to ask this for Nick. William, feel free to chime in on this. Nick, I'd say last year, a lot of more of the casual NASCAR audience got to really see who you were winning that big race, the All-Star event on NBCSN. So really my question for you is, look back to that moment, getting that exposure. What kind of effect would you say that played into your future to hook you up over with William Byron leading up to this moment today?
Yeah, I think William said it himself. That's a turning point in itself to him wanting to pull me to his team, and at that moment, I mean, I never knew what was Iracing going to look at next year. I mean, we had no, it was a TV race. We had no clue we're going to have 6-10 races next year or none, and to have someone like William tune into that race and see just how good the drivers really are. And the commitment they put in, I mean, it was special. I think that was himself. He said it was definitely the turning point.
Absolutely. Definitely seems like that was a excellent turning point. And looking back to tonight, was there ever a point where you thought, maybe I can get up there and get this one? And then what was the point where you thought, oh my gosh, it's right there?
Early on, I thought, we actually got a pretty good car tonight. And I didn't expect to be so far off the 53 car at long run. I mean, they did an exceptional amount of work, going into tonight's race, and that's a credit to them guys. Ryan Luza, I mean, he won here in March, and he's just, they call him Flying Ryan Luza for a reason, man, and he was on all 8 cylinders tonight. But I mean, it's just so hard. I would say the only real challenge I really could do is just on restarts like we did tonight, and that was just pretty much it.
Well, looks like you got it done exactly when you needed to. Congratulations on the championship, Nick.
Hi, Jarrett Lundberg from the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. This one is for both Nick and William. Both, just to start off, congratulations on the championship. But I want to ask, the start of the race was pretty clean, but then sort of towards the second half, a lot of cautions started to come out, and you guys had to have a lot of restarts. I want to ask both of you, what were the emotions through those final restarts, and just how did you go through them as a driver for Nick, and then William as an owner, just having to sit on the sidelines and watch it all play out?
I mean, it was I had a team behind me that says it's still not over. We were trapped a lap down, got the lucky dog, and they said it's not over, man. I mean, we got 30-something laps left, and anything can happen. And like you mentioned, it's just these races can just turn into you going green to the end, or you have a couple ill-advised move from people that just turn out to be questionable, and that's how it went tonight. I mean, it was such a battle. I mean, every single lap tonight. I mean, I think the last restart I split the 204 time 3 wide, and he gave me enough room, and I mean that really propelled me to have a good run at 3 and 4. So I mean, the restarts are very key tonight for that.
Yeah. No, I think just watching those guys, I mean, I think everyone did a good job of respecting, what was going on at the end. I was curious how guys were going to race, and I think that everyone did a good job. I mean, obviously there was some drama there with the 83 and the 52, but I think that honestly Nick just did a good job hanging in there. I was actually on the phone with my dad watching it, and I just kind of went speechless in the last few laps because he just did a great job of getting underneath guys when he needed to, using the top when he needed to on the restarts, and just kind of going wherever he wasn't going to lose momentum, which is, I mean, the restarts are the exact same for us on the 1.5 miles now, and it looked just like a classic restart from, Kyle Busch or somebody who drives through the field. So it was pretty impressive.
Well, thank you both, and congratulations on the championship.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, hi, Eric Esep from Out of the Groove. Congrats to both of you. This question's mainly for William, but I'd actually like to hear Nick's take on it as well. But William, we've mentioned a couple times how we first discovered Nick watching him on NBCSN get that big win last year. We've all seen the just incredible growth for not just the Coca-Cola iRacing series, but for iRacing as a platform just in the last year or so. I guess my question is where do you think it can go now? What's the next big step forward for the platform iRacing and for the Coke iRacing series?
Well, I think it's in good hands. I mean, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that probably, can't necessarily be discussed, but I think that there's a lot of teams out there that are using iRacing more and more with no practice next year. So that's an element. I think that, with Dale Jr. working with iRacing now and a lot of us, that are racing and giving them accurate feedback on their models and things of that nature, I think that that's hopefully going to make this continue to become more and more realistic. It's already, you wouldn't believe how close it is to the $1 million sims that we run at the manufacturer establishments and stuff. So I think that that's the next goal for me, is to continue in this offseason and make this product better and continue to make it closer to everything we got going on, which I think it already is 95% there. So and hopefully through that, the fans continue to race. And I think, you see it with golf. You can go play golf. Everyone can go play golf and pick up a club. And I think you make iRacing that same type of thing where everyone can go race and you grow that talent level. And you can have guys like Nick, continue to showcase their talent. So hopefully that's where it keeps going. And I think it's definitely on the right track.
I think I'd have to piggyback on William on that one. I just figure out this. Sorry, Eric.
No, I appreciate it. I definitely agree with what William said there. Congrats, you guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And we are back, guys. So I hope you. Okay, now you're
still there.
I was laughing. I was like,
they're there.
I like Nick's super cool, but he looks like he's part of the Bohemian Rhapsody music video. He's just a floating head. How dark his clothes and background were. Just giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Well, to be fair, when you're locked in for as long as he was into like an iRacing race, you probably want the light to be lower in there. So
he was focused.
I was just, I was thinking about it last night, and it was like, wow, this William Byron is the first current Cup driver that has been on the show more than once. Nice.
Well, I think current or past. Have we had any Cup
Willie
driver
B.
on multiple?
Congrats.
Wait, have any Cup driver? Well, I don't know. I'd have to think back. We've done like 127 of these. There's probably something I'm forgetting.
Let's see. I'm just curious, like what
next time I see Byron, I'll give him a croissant.
What drivers have the record for most times on here? I know Byron's been on twice now. Okay, yeah, Ryan. Yeah. yeah, Ryan, and then Dylan Smith's been on a few times. Deegan's been on twice. All right, cool.
Maybe we should try again with Bobby Allison.
Yeah.
Can't go worse than last time.
Can you work Zoom, Bobby?
Oh, that's a tall order, folks. We're asking for trouble.
All right. Anyway, so hey, I don't want y'all to feel like
Mark
your
Martin
super
might be
chats.
realistic.
Yeah, maybe. Your super chats have not gone unnoticed. Appreciate y'all so much. Steven Gibson coming in at $5. He said, have some money for the new stream. He gave $5 to the last attempt, so I appreciate that, Steven. GN coming up $5. If we had the old playoff format or points format, whatever, NASCAR restarting the race on a wet track at Texas wouldn't have mattered. This is from someone who despises Harvick. Good point. Mr. Anti-Ant coming in at $9.99. Appreciate that. In regard to Harvick's failure to Championship 4, do you feel lack of stage points was the sole reason he didn't make it? Second, 16th, 17th stage points are maybe too rewarding, do you think? Possibly. I know that was definitely a credit to the 88 getting as high as he did because he was consistently staying in the top 10 in those stages. So, I guess it just went to prove that you can't lay down. You just can't. You got to be there.
Exactly. You got to be aggressive throughout the whole race. That's what a lot of veteran drivers talk about, is how much harder people race in first 100 laps than they used to.
BMG12 coming in at $10. Appreciate that. It's something that I've been willing to ask. But do y'all think the general concept of points racing, not talking about formats, is a gimmick? Why or why not? Ooh.
Points racing is a gimmick?
Well,
I said earlier, it's all arbitrary. It's all a gimmick if you really want it to be. I don't know what it's all made up.
In and of itself, I guess you could say that, because in and of itself, you go to a race to watch and see who's going to win the race. If you go to your local dirt track, yes, they have a season-long point standings for the track itself, but is everyone who's there really paying attention to that, or are they paying attention more to the race? So I would say yes, it could be, but how much of a gimmick is more of a debate.
And points racing is what's typically argued as one of the most legitimate forms of racing. So I don't know if I wouldn't consider that more gimmicky than average.
Rhino Productions coming at $4.99. Radman made a good point about this format fabricating Game 7 moments. The natural moments like the 2011 chase made it more special. Too redundant now. And I agree with that. The 2011 one was definitely more, I guess, worth it to see how it all played out because you didn't know how it was going to go. And then seeing the fact that it was literally tied at the end made it really amazing to watch.
I don't know. As long as like they're not like desperately trying to one up themselves every week, I think it's perfectly fine if every year in October, November, there's going to be a banger of a race. I think it's fine if people look forward to that. Like that's how baseball World Series has been. The last few World Series have been extremely entertaining. They've had a bunch of Game 7s and things like that, and baseball fans love it. They eat that stuff up. So I don't really worry about NASCAR having too many Game 7 moments. Does it need to happen every year? No, but I think it's okay if fans kind of come to expect it. I think that ultimately is builds goodwill.
Yeah. Our very own Black Flags Matter coming in at $5. Appreciate that, Darian. 2004 to 2006 format with top 10 and playoff points added. Bonus points awarded for wins. What do you guys think about that?
It's an interesting approach, but you're not gonna. My thing is like what we talked about before is you're not gonna please everyone anymore. That's the problem. When you started changing it, you opened up Pandora's box, and now there's infinite possibilities of what people would want. Some people like me, like the old one. Or I do like the 04 to 06 one. Others like the 12-man chase in 07 to 12, 11 to 13. They like that one. There's some people that like the crapshoot of 14, 16, and then there's people that like this one. NASCAR brought it on themselves. That's the big thing. Like when all else, revert back to the root cause here. The sponsors at NASCAR 20 years ago at this point, bending to the sponsors is sort of what got us into this. But now I think we go to the 1972 format where Benny Parsons, or was it 73? I don't know, one of those 70s ones where Benny Parsons finished on the lead lap once in like 50 races and won the championship. Let's do that one.
Yeah. GN coming in at $5 again. Appreciate it. You can't have a Game 7 moment every year. It has to be natural. If you artificially create a Game 7 moment each year, it's not special or fun anymore. I think that's something we kind of just touched on a few minutes ago, too.
Yeah, we already kind of went over that one.
I don't know. I think exciting race is an exciting race,
Some kid I've never heard of, Jake
Much of it racing.
Some kid I've never heard of, Jake Baskinger, $1.99. What do you do with dryers? Jake? This kid, I do know who Jake is. Jake, what do you do with dryers? I don't know. Zach Alpert coming in at $1.99. Appreciate that. Jarrett, I think you said this before, but what kind of car is sitting behind you?
If I'm not mistaken, it's either 70 or 71 Chevelle.
Whoa, come in
I'll
here.
move out of the way. There we go. I'll move out of the way for you. There you go.
While you're doing that.
Would seem like the wheel turned, the way they would have it on like the shop floor, for the commercial.
But this one is much appreciated. Thank you very much, Alden. This is gonna sound weird. Alden Hussey. I don't want to say that wrong, but that's how it looks. Coming in at $20. Appreciate that. Championships should be more straightforward than currently. Championships are supposed to be a statistic you can reference to measure a driver's greatness and career accolades. They aren't necessarily for entertainment reasons.
I think that's fair. That's a fair way to look at it. But I think it's also when you're a spectator sport, I think there does need to be, it does need to be fun, and as pure as it would be to see Harvick lock up the championship by Texas, I just think in 2020, if ratings for Phoenix and Martinsville would have tanked. I think it's 2020. There's too much competition out there. People wouldn't watch if there's not something on the line at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think there's just more on TV, more on the internet these days than there was in 2000.
Could be.
All right. Well, I guess we can move on from Super Chats. Jarrett, what do we got to do now?
Well, there was one thing that people were asking about before. So real quick, ratings. There's actually two things for ratings. Where did I put the other one? 1.2 million viewers watched Texas this past week. It was basically the last week.
Oh, I didn't see that. 1.2 million
on a Wednesday.
Oh,
delayed by 2 hours. I mean, it's not the worst. It could be worse. Like people were saying, it's gonna be under 1 million. So I mean, there's that. But
that's got to be the worst viewership like ever for a Cup race. Because I know the midweek races earlier this year that were scheduled as midweek races were getting like 1.6, 1.8 million viewers, and I think those were among the lowest races of all time. So holy crap. I mean, I get it. Delayed 72 hours, run at like 3 p.m. on Wednesday. I get it. I'm not surprised, but still, that's tough. I hate to see that.
Now, the ratings for this week at Martinsville, 1.65 rating with 2.74 million viewers, which is up about 4.5% in viewership and then up 1% in rating. So about flat, which
that's
not
better.
bad. Yeah,
that's better. There we go.
Compared to every other major sport right now, aside from WNBA, where I think like 3 more people are watching right now, we're percentage-wise, we're doing all right.
About the percentages.
Yeah. I'm gonna be real. I know what everyone's waiting for. They're waiting for me to read the poll and poll questions and everybody's quotes on there. So I'm just gonna get that set up right now. Let's see. I gotta get my other stuff here. See, I'm learning this whole podcast thing. You have to have multiple screens up at once. I just don't, have it all the way I want it yet. But I'm looking right here. I asked you, what did you think of the 2020 Xfinity 500? 7.3 thousand you voted, which I believe is the 10th highest voting tally that we've had for it ever. So thank you. Man, why'd it have to be this one? 69% of you, nice. Thought it was great.
They thought the race was nice.
They thought the race was nice. Yes. I'm looking here. It puts this race is 10th all-time most voted, and then it has 69 nice percent great, 20% good, 5% average, 1% below average, and 5% of you thought this was just a bad race. So that is an 89% net approval, 6% net negative. So looking here, going on through, for net approval, being at 89%, this is the 10th highest race ever polled on here. Slots just below last year's spring race at Kansas, and just basically ties last year's Roval race. Looking back compared to other Martinsville races that have been polled, there's only been 3, including this one, so it's not that many to choose from. The 89% is the most positively viewed race since we started doing this. 2019 fall had a 55% rating, and then the night race earlier in the year had 75%. So this race has been definitely the most favorably viewed of them. And I think other than the Bristol night race, it's one of the few races above like 89 or above percent that isn't a plate race or a super speedway.
Wow.
I know that we don't read all of the comments every week, but I definitely wouldn't be able to this week because there were 625 comments. So yeah. So I'll just start. The most liked one was the other White Castle said, "Hope you're getting a head start on that missing rings Kevin Harvick 2020 video. This was BS." Well, I kind of answered that question or statement earlier. Let's see what else we got here. Oh my God.
Uh-oh. What is it?
We got an account called Croissant. And Croissant says, it's 2020 when the dominant driver doesn't even get into the Final Four. Let's see. Cool Nala says, Kevin Harvick tries to pull a Newman 14 and forgets we're not in Phoenix yet.
Ryan Newman greater than Harvick confirmed.
Oh, this is totally who they say they are. William Byron says, okay, Harvick should be in, okay? He has one bad race and now he's not in. Elliott was great, but I'd personally kick Logano out. Of course, everyone would kick Logano out. Being a little harsh on your teammate there, Willie B.
Goodness gracious.
Let's see what else we got here. I'll scroll down a bit here. Yo Mom says, I had hockey on and couldn't watch the race, but I recorded it. Well, good for you, man. Good for you. Let's scroll down a little bit more here. And Andrew H21 says, have you ever? The response here is by Gabriel, the motorsports guy. No, I've never. So good job.
Tag team that one.
Yeah.
Good quoting. Blue Flag Alpha says Harvick exposed himself as a rowdy hater. That's one way of looking at it.
I wish I could have actually heard what Kyle Busch thought of that. I haven't heard anything on that.
Wasn't happy.
I wonder if there's any driver on the track that if it had been them in front of him instead, Harvick wouldn't have tried to wreck him. Like, is there what if it was Jimmy in front of him or one of his teammates? If it was Boyer in front of him, do you think Harvick wouldn't have tried to wreck him there, or is it just because it was Kyle, or do you think that made it easier?
If it was a teammate, I feel like they would have honestly said, "Hey, can you just scoot over?"
That's probably true. They wouldn't have gotten penalized for it.
Well, I mean, the Gibbs guys proved you wouldn't get penalized for it. We'll talk about that in a bit. But that's what I didn't get. I'm like, why didn't they tell, I can understand maybe Boyer. He's probably pretty gun shy about manipulating a race. But I don't understand. He had two teammates in front of him, and they just like, well, we're just going to pull away now. Like, he could have made it if they did, like, the Gibbs-style team orders. Ross Boss says, dying in laughter that Harvick tried to wreck him and failed.
It was sad. I will say that was probably the biggest hit against the playoff format, was that it relegated, a 9-time winner to having to intentionally wreck the defending champion out of desperation and then junking himself on the last lap instead. Like that, it just was sad. He didn't deserve to go out in that sad of a fashion. So I will say that was the biggest issue I had. Not even him being eliminated. That, he sucked the last 6 weeks. That's fine. But
I don't know.
but
do you guys?
That's how he went out. It was so sad.
Do you guys lose any kind of respect for him for that, or what do you guys think?
Zero. I didn't have a whole lot of respect for him running well or making the right decision late in the playoffs. So that was par for the course. I'm talking about 2015.
It's the position NASCAR's put him in.
No, I'm saying like for this year. Do you lose any respect for Harvick for doing that?
It doesn't taint this season, but I just know Harvick occasionally, when push comes to shove, he'll make the hard decision, Yeah.
But I don't know. I love the heart and determination. So
I don't lose any respect because I think it's a position NASCAR's put him in. I think because I wrote about it out there for a little bit, but same as the 2015, same as 2000. Even you can even say 2010, even though I think that was more Harvick with Kyle Busch at Homestead going into taking stuff into his own hands when he shouldn't have.
I just think it's funny how it just seems like if anything had been different at Kansas, like things would wouldn't be the same.
Yeah,
and it's funny back then we didn't. So
last comment here, positive or negative? Let me read off who wrote it. Jason Jeffrey, positive or negative?
Oh, that's such a neutral name.
That sounds like a positive. I feel like if they put their real name out there, they wouldn't want to say anything too crazy,
Everyone's pissed. Negative.
Oh, no.
All right. 3 days ago, Jason Jeffrey left this comment. I hate that Kevin Harvick can't race for a championship. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. That being said, holy crap, that race was awesome. Now this was a Martinsville race.
So it was both.
That was it. That was dead center. Oh my goodness. That's hilarious. How he literally went from the strong. He literally exemplified the strongest of both emotions, the love and the hatred that we all experience with NASCAR from time to time.
I feel like that's exactly how I feel too.
Well done, Jason Jeffrey. What was his name?
Jason Jeffrey.
I think so. I have it off. I've been roboting a little bit, so I'm trying to limit my internet usage. But thank you all. That was the poll. One more for this year. Let's see if we can crack 8,000 again. We did that earlier this year. I want to see if we can do that for the finale. So share it with everybody. Your mother, your dog, that crazy kid down the street. Share it with everyone.
Joe Bob down the road.
Make sure you leave negative comments quickly.
All right. So we'll talk about the championship right before predictions, won't we?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk championship at the very end of this episode, so stay tuned. We got some crazy picks. I don't actually know if y'all's are crazy. Mine's not that crazy.
I don't know. I tried thinking outside the box, but
I wonder if
I
this
usually go wrong when I try and think outside the box.
I wonder if this is D. Mike Davis in the chat. He says, "Am I wrong? Danny B is the T.J. Majors of online broadcasters." What does that mean?
He misspelled online. So, Mike, if it is you, come on now, man. Come on. So, are we rolling into the lightning round, or are we going into? We got a couple more things to talk about in a little bit more detail.
We could try and get the lightning round because, like I said, my internet's wonking out right now.
Oh boy. Come on.
Yeah, Danny went robot on me, so I think I responded like late or something. So that'll sound weird, probably in post. But we could do the lightning round really quick. I think I'm clear.
Let's do it.
So lightning round. I forgot I had this graphic. Here it is. Boom. Severe thunderstorm warning. Jarrett's dead.
Absolutely no fanfare this time. Oh yeah, there's lightning. We're getting blasted here. Bad things are happening.
Yeah, this is a normal Wednesday.
Yep.
Normal Wednesday.
Well,
right.
This is an election
Lightning
round. There's less emotion.
Well, lightning round here. Rick Ware Racing is going full-time Xfinity racing with 2 cars, which will soon engulf the entire field, and we'll have 20 Rick Ware cars.
Rick Ware Xfinity Series.
I still can't get over the fact that they finished last on the same day in 2 different racing series back-to-back. That's funny as hell. Bob Bachrus says that the traction compound at Phoenix will be the same as in March. Low groove will not be treated.
Did you say Bachrus?
Yeah, you didn't
Bob
say Bachrus.
No, it probably glitched out again on me. It's glitching out on me again.
Bob Bachrus.
Don't look where we're speaking.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, kind of fits the week. Championship race is going to be called the season finale 500. That's creative.
Woo!
If we can call it whatever we want, let's just call it the Croissant 500.
Yeah, I got $2. Call us. I
got $3.
Yeah.
Let's see. Justin Allgaier will return to JRM with Brandt as sponsor for 20 races next year.
Shocker.
Speaking of sponsorship for next year, Carvana's Jimmy Johnson IndyCar paint scheme has been released. So it's pretty nice looking. Denny Hamlin has also landed a deal with Domino's and is in an ad. Dale Jr., according to Adam Stern, is now an official employee of Iracing, being named an executive director, which when asked on his show about it, Dale Jr. said, "I'm just doing the same stuff. Now I have a title."
Does he have?
I'm not even making a joke.
Like,
I'm not even making a joke. That's actually pretty much what he said. He's like, I'm just gonna do what I did before. It's just now that I have a title. I wonder what the base pay is. He probably totally asked for a ton. He must be hard on money being Dale Jr.
I know. I don't think he's living like that good. He could definitely make more money.
So this one actually caught me off guard. Longtime MRN broadcaster Winston Kelly is retiring after Phoenix. So
I didn't hear that.
That shocked me.
End of an era.
Yeah, I mean, that one, it just came out of nowhere. Same with a lot of broadcast ones seem to come out of nowhere, aside from Darrell Waltrip. So really quick, go ahead.
I was gonna say we lost a lot of legendary people. I think the show Raceline went away after last year. I think.
It is November, and somehow a fly managed to find its way to my microphone.
Oh, wow.
Well, hey, the NASCAR Weekly Podcast is growing stronger by the year. We will not go down without a fight. If anything, we will get larger. We'll have 20,000 people voting on the poll in 1 year.
I like this in the chat. Austin Higgins says, Eric and Jarrett. My name is Jarrett, by the way. A lot of people think it's Jared. It's Jarrett. Eric and Jarrett have $2 and $3 because they're paying for an ARCA team.
I hate the ARCA jokes.
Yeah, we could probably fund an ARCA team. I mean, I can have ARCA breaks if you need. So the Phoenix schedule this weekend. Friday, November 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1 is the Truck Series finale. Saturday, November 7th, ARCA at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Track Pass. Xfinity is right after that, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on NBCSN. And then the Big Dogs Cup, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. just letting y'all know, no one in the chat has an excuse to now not know when the race was, because I've seen that excuse before. I didn't know when they were racing. It's like, you don't have an excuse now. All 291 of you do not have an excuse. And I'm not Jared from Subway. I don't need to be that sad in my life.
Also, most people have a smartphone, you're probably watching this on a smartphone, just download the NASCAR app. Like, you can literally go right there to it.
We should make an app for this show. I know it's way off.
As soon as you open it up, it's just I don't know, picture of old school Eric or something like that.
No, can that be the actual like thing you click on is a photo of me from like 2013?
Yes,
that's disgusting.
Let's see. Okay, so there we got a ton more here in the lightning round to get through.
Oh my goodness.
Ryan Ellis will run part-time in Xfinity for BJ McLeod Motorsports in 2021 and is working on a deal to run the 2021 Daytona 500 next year, according to Chris Knight. So there's right. some news there.
So
the Wheel and Modified Tour.
With I guess Go Fast Racing going more part-time, Ryan Ellis has been working a lot with them, so I guess that's giving him more of an opportunity to focus on his own racing again.
Mm-hmm. The Wheel and Modified Tour is going to race at Martinsville Speedway and Richmond Raceway next year. And also congratulations to Ty and Haley Dillon on the birth of their son, Captain.
Captain?
Kapton. Captain Dillon. So I hope that's how you say it. If not, then I'm really butchering that name.
Is Ty Dillon going to Penske next year? Confirmed?
Mm-hmm. It's funny. You have Ty Dillon has Captain Dillon, and then Austin has Ace Dillon. Ace is like a flying term for the military.
They're starting their own military. The Dillon fortress. Like, wow.
The Dillon Mafia.
The Dillons invade.
Austin Hill is going to be racing for Tory full-time in 2021 in trucks and part-time in Xfinity next year. That was announced recently.
Nothing's changed.
The Iowa Speedway. The Iowa Speedway, according to Adam Stern, has been losing for years now in the low seven figures every year. Oh, sorry. I looked down and I see Eric like that, and I thought he had like a strung a mustache.
Just millions out there.
For those of you listening, Eric is just moving a pin all over his face.
just chewing on it, hitting myself with it, drawing my face
Remember,
with it. Iowa, what?
We are on Spotify. But yes, Iowa Speedway has been losing in the low seven figures annually for years now, and is heading towards a shutdown.
Yeah, it's not looking good for good old Iowa Speedway. It's amazing how the narrative changed so fast. I feel like 3 years ago it was like Xfinity races are great. They're going to get a cup one day. It's all going to be fantastic. And things have
now it's like
gone so bad.
It's like we're gonna bury you out back. Don't ever come back here.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were losing that much money. I mean, I knew they weren't filling the stands as consistently, and obviously when you don't bring Cup, the big show to the track, I'm sure it's difficult, but yeah, that's disappointing.
I think we were originally going to have this story, but this is more of a lightning round thing too. NASCAR media exec Brian Herbst, which most have said I don't think has a relation to Riley Herbst, indicated that if history is a guide, then new talks for a new TV or media deal would be starting in mid to late 2023, which is really odd because most of them actually start about 2 years to 2.5 years early. But the big thing to look at here, and the reason why they're going to be starting so late, is because the NFL contract ends in 2022 for the second half of the season. They would need to know what the NFL is doing to go after different coverage. For instance, if NBC wants to take over what CBS or Fox is doing a part of their slate, they need to know that. So we might see a big shift. We might see the same thing. I'm really hoping we start going more towards a digital outlook on it, because I think that would really help the sport grow if they actually took the initiative on this one. But that's just my take. Mike Wheeler, according to Bob Pockris, I've said it right this time. I know I did. Mike Wheeler to be the crew chief for Bubba in 2021. Team is working out of Germain Racing's building, and they already are working on, they already got the car out there, all this other stuff. I mean, the team is coming together. 2311, because I know a lot of people got mad at me for saying 23XI. 2311 is I swear, if I just read it the way that so many of the laymen out there want to read it, then at the same time, I'm told that I'm like super base. I don't know. I should have learned by now. I can't please everyone. Bob Pockrass also has reported that the Daytona 500 is planning still on 100% capacity. That could change, though, over time. Pretty sure we all know why that probably is the case and why it's still probably very fluid.
Did they confirm? I know they were talking about for the Super Bowl, which is the week before in Tampa, also in Florida. I know they were talking about limited capacity for that. Has that been confirmed yet if the Super Bowl is running limited capacity? Okay.
Yes, 20% capacity for the Super Bowl. So if that were the case at Daytona,
tough scene.
Might be about 20,000, 25,000 people.
Yeah, that'd be a shame.
But
I understand, but man, that'd be a shame.
I mean, right now, again, stuff can change by then. But I mean, right now, Florida's wide open, so
it's true.
I would think NASCAR would have more than football. They seem to be more bullish on getting fans back to the track than other sports leagues.
And I don't know enough about Tampa Bay Stadium. Well, I guess it's an outdoor stadium. I have seen it before, but yeah, NASCAR is an outdoor venue, and I know some NFL stadiums are indoors, so that would tweak things perhaps as well. I don't know.
Two more things here. Justin Haley said that he had more offers than just Spire, but opted to stay with Colleague because he said it wouldn't make sense for him to just run in a Cup car in 2021 that would just be obsolete by the end of the year. And then Adam Stern with the final report here says Busch Beer has been running more one-off paint schemes in the last 2 years and says in the first half of 2020, Busch sales were up 10.1% and Busch Light was up 17.7%. I wrote that right, 17.7%. Part of that might also be because people wanted to drink through the pandemic. I don't know, maybe.
That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good. As long as one major sponsor is happy, hopefully that means some others. I mean, that's always good to know. If a big sponsor feels like they're getting a good return on investment from NASCAR, that's great.
They're claiming it has to do with NASCAR, so I'm not sure. Like,
cool.
If it does, go good. I mean, Busch is everywhere. Like literally everywhere.
I just feel like it's interesting. Like 7 or 8 years ago, I feel like Busch was kind of gone. I mean, granted, I was like 14, 15, not paying attention to what beer was on the shelves, but I just feel like after they renamed the Busch series to Nationwide or whatever, I feel like I didn't hear about Busch anymore. And then bada bing, it's back. I don't know if it actually came back or if it was always there and I just didn't notice it, but it does feel like it's maybe experiencing a resurgence. I have no idea.
Well, I think it was they focused their efforts more on Budweiser than Busch, so they start promoting the other beer.
I guess that's true.
I'd honestly like it if Xfinity wasn't had to head out or their contract expired and they didn't re-up. I'd love if they went back and called it the Busch Series just so that I wouldn't keep getting it wrong every time I called it that. But that's it. That's the lightning round. Danny, strike me with lightning.
Kill him.
2, 1. There's a severe thunderstorm.
All right, now take 2, but this time I need more emotion. I mean, you just got your entire life ripped away from you. You were absolutely eviscerated.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. There it is.
Okay, now, less Home Alone. Come on.
All right. I was thinking Deadpool just without the mask on.
I'm laughing at the comment. Leon, is Eric a villain? Why that made me laugh.
By the way, I keep saying.
All right. What we don't tell you is that Palpatine is actually up there striking me every time.
He's a part of the show. He's our producer in the back. We don't.
I'm gonna be real. This is gonna be really off topic and probably not the most appropriate thing to do. But it's like striking someone with force lightning. Is that like the same thing as like when you're going to the bathroom, you just can't stop doing it? Because it's like every time something bad happens to him, it's because he won't stop striking somebody with lightning, and it ends up going back and blowing back into his face. Like, I'm sorry, it's something that's I've never gotten. It's like, this is hurting. I'm gonna keep doing it.
It's like this is a cool power I can do, but it makes me accelerate my life by hundreds of years.
Yeah. So.
By the way, I keep seeing a NASCAR chasm in the chat. I don't know if it's the real one, but if it is, welcome.
Let's see.
So what's next? I'm sorry. We always refer back to you, Jared. Even when it's not on your channel, you are the expert. The Palpatine, that was a joke, but he's not actually here. Yeah. It's all you. You're the leading the show here. What's going down?
Well, really quick, I just got an update from Jake that apparently they are still selling tickets, but they expensive, and they aren't selling more than 10. So if you have a big group, just telling you now, you can't sit all with them. But anyway, next up, one last story before we start talking championship talk here. This is from Sports Illustrated, Jimmy Johnson's statements, and this is kind of interesting. Just hearing what Johnson's saying on the way out, because I found Johnson to be just a tad more blunt this year on what he's talking about and what he's saying. Jimmy Johnson says, with the rules package and where NASCAR is going, I want to drive stuff with way too much horsepower. And that's definitely not the direction these cars are going, talking about the Cup cars. But I love the sport and I want to be around. I want to be involved. I'm totally open to moonlighting. So Jimmy Johnson basically saying that the cars aren't really he's not suited with the way that the cars are going, and that might have been an influence on his retirement or moving to IndyCar compared to NASCAR, I think.
So Jimmy Xfinity Series confirmed.
Damn it, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's in line with what a lot of other veteran drivers have said. Drivers who have been around a while, have won in a lot of the old cars that NASCAR's run. Clearly it's a different driving style, and I think Jimmy Johnson has, he wasn't running well in 2018 with the old car. He hasn't run well in 2019 or 2020 with the new package, 750 horsepower or 550 horsepower. He has just not run like he used to. So that doesn't entirely shock me. I don't know, to hear that comment. I think we were talking about this before we went on the air. We can't remember if it was, we'll have to look this up later. It was either Brad Keselowski or Kyle Busch who said, like, at the beginning of 2019, like at the very beginning of the 550 rules package being used, one of them said something along the lines of, if NASCAR really goes this way full blow for forever, like eventually that is going to affect what drivers want to race NASCAR. For a while, NASCAR is, and still is, I'd say, viewed as the most prestigious motorsport in America, at least one of the most prestigious in the entire world. The cars have always been thought of as very difficult to drive. That's why you often see people come from other motorsports and struggle out of the gates in NASCAR, because it's just very different, very difficult. But if NASCAR continues to go full on down that road, it was either Keselowski or Kyle Busch that did say that eventually that may affect how drivers view NASCAR, and if NASCAR is able to continue to attract the best talent. And obviously, I think Jimmy Johnson was going to retire this year regardless of the car. I don't think he was, this is the end of his contract. I think he's at a point where he was willing to move on regardless. But I definitely think the car made it a little bit easier of a decision for him, for sure.
Yeah, I don't. It sucks hearing a lot of these drivers, because you can see just by like how they talk about it, they don't like where this is going. And that's the thing. I've been harping on it for a while now, and maybe if it works out for the sport, I'm proven wrong, and we're just it works out hopefully. But putting all your eggs in this basket, I just. For someone who might not even jump in with these new manufacturers, I just don't get. I don't get that line of thinking unless they're extremely sure. I don't know, man. It's a little. It's a gamble. I mean, I know NASCAR needs a gamble right now to get more attention onto it and gain a little more popularity and stuff. But I don't know if this is the right way to go about it, especially when you see your established drivers do not like this and really take extreme issue with it. I mean, because I think it was Keselowski and Kyle Busch have talked about it. Harvick's talked about it. Now Jimmy Johnson has. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens with it. But it's not the most positive outlook moving forward, to say the least.
I think it's interesting because Johnson, his contract was up this year, so he's leaving. Meanwhile, Harvick, who I think, definitely is not a big fan of the way the current cars drive. It was last year he signed like a 3-year extension, even though he's now, is he 44, 45? He's at a point where if he retired this year, nobody would really blame him, given where he's at in his career. But Harvick's sticking around for a while. So I think it is going to be a mix. I think drivers are going to view it differently. Obviously, we know veteran drivers especially are not the biggest fans of these cars. And it's, again, just typical package talk. You're right, Jared. If they're banking so heavily on getting new manufacturers, that's a pretty big risk to be taking. I do think it'll pay off for them because I think they are going to get new manufacturers there. I think this will, if nothing else, strengthen their relationship with Toyota and Ford and Chevy, who I'm sure are also pushing for not 900 horsepower engines going forward, So I don't know, but it is it's just going back to the package debate. It's not great, not perfect for sure. Hopefully the next gen car is a completely different stab and goes a different direction. I think we are pretty much all, at least everyone on this show, is pretty much in agreement on that at this point.
Yeah, I hope it is. I hope it's everything we're hoping for. It's exciting moving forward, looking forward to this stuff, but at the same time, it's very
uncertain.
Yes, uncertain is the right word.
The first year of the Gen 6 when it was first introduced, granted I was like 15 and I wasn't really paying that close attention. I was excited for it. I'm like, dang, these things go fast. They look cooler, at least in my opinion. They look cooler than the Gen 5 in 2011 and 2012. I'm like, this is going to be great. And the racing was kind of lackluster. And then, 2014 was a little bit better, but then it just, I don't know, the racing has never been great, in my opinion, in the Gen 6 era consistently. And so over time, the luster wore off. I hope the next gen car isn't like that. I hope, I hope they're able to work with it better and it's able to, restore NASCAR racing to some of its prior glory, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. The hardest part I think I've said this a few times, so I'm probably a broken record here, but the hardest part is just the waiting. That's the hardest part.
Dang, I wish we could have been think about it. If not for COVID, obviously a lot of bad things have come from COVID, but if not for COVID, we'd be having the next gen car in 3 months.
We'd probably see it in full tests and racing against each other the way we did in the Gen 6 back in 2012.
Probably true. Yeah.
Well, at least we get it next year, so that's positive.
At least the extra year hopefully means they can make it more perfect. Hopefully.
Yeah, if they, it's gonna suck if they don't get it right after having an extra year. I know that they had some time where they couldn't test and whatnot, but if they have an extra year where they can't at least get most of it right, I'm not gonna be a happy camper. Like if in the first year we don't see like at least some kind of improvement in some way, it's gonna be like, man, I wouldn't say first year, in the first year and a half or so, if you don't see some kind of improvement, I'm gonna be asking the question like, what the hell is the point, of making it new? I mean, other than just hopefully it's cheaper kind of thing. But we can continue this conversation in a year.
Same time next year. That's two things now tonight.
Yes.
Hit on later. Oh God.
What's gonna happen is that we're gonna give them so much time, and then next thing they're gonna overthink it, and they come out next year. We're gonna put nostrils on there. We're putting the numbers back in the back. One lug nut. Here's a wing. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be something.
And while we're at it, we're gonna have brackets on the wing. Not the front, the wing. Just for the hell of it.
We'll put a splitter on the rear of the car.
And we'll put a splitter on the rear bumper.
And roof flaps, we're done with those.
Diffuser on the roof.
The roof flaps are always in the upward position.
No, it's just a giant wicker, Bill.
God. The whole car is just a spoiler.
Yeah, forget a wicker, Bill. We're just taking that spoiler, we're putting them back. It's at the top.
The driver sits in a sidecar to steer.
The wicker bill just goes like down the center of the hood, so it's like a little car mohawk, basically.
Just get rid of the motor. You guys are Flintstoning these things from now on.
God.
Yeah,
the crew gets out and pushes everyone.
And every race, instead of gentlemen, start your engines, yell yabba dabba doo.
Yeah, I want to see like is it Speed Racer or whatever series that's based off, where they the drivers, it's like go and they run to their car and like have to like hop in and put their helmet on and that's all part of the race. I want to see that next year.
We're just no more cars. We're just gonna say everyone begin and just start walking.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test will be 500 miles around Daytona.
You thought Texas was long.
We need to get to the next topic. We need to get to the next topic now. We
still got to give these people our championship picks, because we're not just picking Cup champions tonight. We're picking Truck, Xfinity. We're picking it all.
And we can't forget Johnny Joe's Lawnmower Series.
Of course. I haven't missed a single race. Good old Johnny Joe. All right.
Let's just do picks. How about that? I mean, we can talk about the championship 4 once we get to the championship 4 pick. But we want to start. How about we do this? We'll start off with the lower series first, and then go and do our dark horse winner for the Cup race and the Cup champ if it's different than our winner pick. How about that?
That sounds good.
right.
So we'll start with truck champion then, right?
Yeah, so chat, while we're doing this, leave your pick for the Truck Series champion, and from there, we'll go with it.
So first, for everyone
First.
watching at home, the championship for trucks, hopefully I get this right, Sheldon Creed, Brett Moffitt, Zane Smith, and Grant Enfinger. All right, I'll go first. Enfinger and Creed, I believe, have the most wins of the group. Moffitt just got his first career win recently, or not first career win, first win of the season recently. He's the only driver of the group that has won a truck championship recently, of course. So I really like Brett Moffitt, but I'm going with the young guy. I'm going with the kid. I'm going with Zane Smith. I'm riding Zane Smith all season long. He's been fun to watch. I think Zane wins.
Sentimentally, I want to see him do it just because of his paint scheme, but I think Brett Moffitt has what it takes to go get his second championship, actually.
Well, Eric, we might have disagreed earlier with the championship format, but I think we're going to agree on our pick here. Zane Smith wowed me all the way back at Charlotte, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. This is special. So I'm going to go with Zane Smith getting the championship for trucks this year, and I'm looking. Well, the chat was early voting for the chat said Creed, but we're definitely full on Zane Smith right now. I'm going through here, and it's not repeat ones either. There's just like tons of Zane.
Yeah, Zane.
I think it's safe to say GMS Racing is our favorite. I don't see Enfinger having a chance.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially it's been a rough couple weeks for Thor Sport, so.
I'm going to call it here. I think that the chat's picking Zane Smith because the ones for Sheldon Creed are repeats. They're saying that the tons of Creeds you see in there are repeats of someone yelling Creed, 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 Creed. But there's a lot of Zane Smiths.
That's how elections work.
Are we talking about the popular boxer movie?
Sure. But it's looking like Zane Smith is the consensus here in the chat.
Ooh,
so Xfinity Series champion. Leave it in the chat. Xfinity Series champion. Let's go same order here. So Eric, lead us off.
So the championship for, again, let me make sure I get this right. It's Chase Briscoe, of course, Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, and Justin Haley. Couple Fords, couple Justins. No Toyotas. Dang, that's rough. Given that Toyota finished 1, 2, 3 at Phoenix earlier this year. Remember that? Brandon Jones, Burton, and Kyle Busch. So, missed opportunity there.
It's funny to think of how similar of a season that Briscoe and Harvick had, but this is the chance for Stewart-Haas Racing to win the championship.
Yeah, SHR still has a shot with one of their guys. But for me, this is the year. I know everyone's looking at Briscoe. Everyone's looking at Cindric. Justin Haley could be fun. But this is the year Justin Allgaier wins the championship. Let me see. I had some numbers earlier. So at Phoenix in March, Justin Haley finished 5th. Briscoe was 6th. Cindric finished 8th. Justin Allgaier finished 13th. I don't remember exactly what happened to him because he led over 50 laps in that race. I think Justin Allgaier, they've gotten better as the season progressed. I think Justin Allgaier wins his first championship.
I want to say Briscoe because it would feel good for everything that's happened to him and his wife this year, but I actually agree with Eric on this one. I think this is when Allgaier, the veteran, finally gets it done. He won the Phoenix race last year, has shown strength at other tracks that I guess could be similar in a way. Swept Dover. I'm going to say that Allgaier is who's going to win. Wait, he did sweep Dover, didn't he?
I don't remember. He won one of them, I remember. I don't remember if he swept.
There was one track he won 2 races. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Dover.
I don't remember. I think I missed one of those Dover races. I forget where I was.
I'm going to Allgaier too.
I'm not overthinking this one. This dude's been hitting it in clutch time almost the entire season. Been far and away the best driver out there, and I think that he's going to close out the deal. Going Briscoe on this one. Me and the chat are agreeing here. Lots of the chat saying Briscoe. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I want it to be Briscoe.
We're split.
I want it to be Briscoe. I just think
Briscoe would be fun.
Allgaier's going to do it though.
Yeah, I think any of the 4. I mean, Haley would probably be the upset. I'd say of those 4, he'd be the biggest upset. But yeah, I think Briscoe, Cindric, or Allgaier would all be fairly deserving.
Haley's like, why can't we go to Talladega or Daytona, something like that? Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, this leaves one last race, and we're going to do 4 picks for it because we're madmen.
Championship weekend, y'all. I switched hats earlier. I don't think anyone in the chat noticed.
All right, who is going to suck? Eric?
All right, so y'all are going to think I'm a total hater. I think Kevin Harvick sucks. Not being in the championship 4, I think, otherwise if he wasn't in the championship 4, he'd be a lot of people's pick to win the title. He's obviously great at Phoenix, and he hasn't won there recently, but he's obviously historically great at Phoenix. I think Harvick, is just kind of there. He'll probably be in the top 5 a lot of the day, but he'll end up finishing 6th, 7th, and won't really be a factor in the finish. That's my not really based on any evidence. That's just my hot take for the evening, if I hadn't already had one.
All right. I'm going to say for my suck pick, it's Ryan Blaney. I feel like Penske is going to put all their strength into their championship guys, and they're going to forget all about him.
Oh, this is so I'm looking at the chat right now, and they're all over the place. There's a lot of Chase Elliott's and a lot of Jimmy Johnsons in there, so they're definitely not going for the popularity award here. I'll let you two decide from the chat who you think. But while you do that, I'm going to give you my suck pick, and this is going to give away at least partially who won't be one of my championship picks. Yes, I'm gonna pick a championship 4 driver in the suck category, and I think a lot of people in the chat are probably going to laugh at this and happily laugh at it, and maybe some might think that it's bad because I might jinx him in the wrong way, but I'm gonna go Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin is quick here, didn't have a great finish earlier in the year, seems to always manage to throw away a championship no matter how much it's handed to him, and I don't think that's changing this year. 2020 is going to be the same as many other years, I think. At least in this year, I've been on the Hamlin train. If he can stay out of trouble, I think he'll be right up there in the thick of things. But that's just the thing. Denny Hamlin doesn't have good luck. Nothing ever goes Denny Hamlin's way when a championship is on the line, and I don't think it's changing.
That's fair. I wasn't willing to jump off that cliff entirely, but you went for it, Jared, and I can admire that. I do think the chat, for whatever reason, was going with Elliott for their suck pick. There's a lot of duplicates, but there's still a lot of different Elliott picks in there.
So that also means when we do the Cup champion pick for consensus, even if Elliott is the one they use, they can't pick them both. I think
they can. I think they can. That makes it fun. That shows how divided our chat is.
Sure, we'll do it. Why not? It's the last set of picks of the year. Why not have fun with it?
Come on.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's have fun with it then.
So
dark horse
pick. All right, guys. So I'm really excited to watch Tyler Reddick because he ran all the way up to 2nd earlier this year. Remember, this is like his, he ran a few races last year, but this is the 4th race of the season. As a rookie, he was up there contending for the lead. Whoa, and then he blew a tire and wrecked and finished last or whatever it was. So that was disappointing. But I'll watch Tyler Reddick. But no, this is probably the 4th time I've now said this, but this is going to be my last chance probably to see Matt Kenseth race in NASCAR, maybe in anything. Matt Kenseth in his last 2 races at Phoenix with Roush in the 6 car, and this ugly thing right here. He ran 7th at Phoenix late in the season. That was one of his best runs of the entire season. Of course, the year before, he won Phoenix driving, it's on the other side of the room, that beautiful Circle K Camry. So screw it. Larson finished top 5 early this year. Matt Kenseth gets a top 5 in his final NASCAR Cup race. I have to go with my guy. Come on.
That's a pretty good pick. But I'm going to say my dark horse is the man, Jimmy Johnson. This is his last chance to show off. Go get a top 5 at least. Maybe be there to upset, but try to go for a top 5 in your last one, Jimmy.
Man, y'all were close. You got the right manufacturer. He was even mentioned earlier. I mean, he impressed earlier in the year. Tyler Reddick impressed earlier in the year at this track. He only has more experience under his belt. And I'm assuming the team probably knows what happened that caused his problems earlier in the year and how to avoid that. They got speed. They seem to be getting faster later in the year. I got to go Tyler Reddick. I mean, I have to. I got that, you got that feeling in your gut that one of these drivers might do something really special. You don't have the data to back it up, but you just feel like someone can do it. I got Reddick here. Now watch, I say that, and I'm going to absolutely jinx him, and he's going to like crash out lap 1, finish 39th.
That would be very, very sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
But that's my pick. So let's see consensus here.
I've been looking. There's a lot of Jimmys earlier, but man, I don't know.
A lot. Well, there's a lot of Matty D's, but it's the same guy.
Yeah.
There's still a Zane Smith in there.
Yeah, I think that Zane's been going for 10 minutes.
Zane. Let's see. There's some Kenseths. Johnson, Kenseth. JJ. Man,
I saw Danny B in there.
I mean, there's no Gregson too. It's looking like Johnson.
I think it's Johnson.
JJ Haley, I saw vote for him. Yeah, Jimmy makes sense.
All right, so race winner, and you might be giving me your championship pick too. Maybe not. We'll see.
Let's get this out of the way right here. Do any of the three of us have a non-championship contender winning the race?
Yes.
Oh, both of you do? Oh,
Yes.
I know who y'all are picking. Y'all are boring. All right. Well, my race winner is going to win. I understand this is a new track, Phoenix. First time championships been settled at Phoenix, but I still think the trend, that the streak will continue of the champion being the race winner as well. So I'll get mine out of the way. Championship 4 for Cup, of course, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, and Denny Hamlin. Both Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano looking to become only the second active 2-time champion, with Jimmy Johnson obviously retiring. It'll be Kyle Busch and either Keselowski or Logano if they get the championship. But that's kind of crazy. After this weekend, Kyle Busch could be the only more than one-time champion in the Cup Series. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. But if you watched my video earlier this afternoon, you'll know where I'm going with this. But my champion pick is Brad Keselowski. I don't remember if I talked about much on the show here, but I talked about it on my show a few weeks ago. After Keselowski led half the laps at Richmond and won, and then said afterwards they're bringing that same car to Phoenix, I said then, even if Harvick and Hamlin are in the championship 4, Brad Keselowski would be my pick, the way he'd been running at the mile and shorter tracks. 3 of his 4 wins this year have come at tracks similar to Phoenix. Assuming they're still bringing that race car, and Brad Keselowski's a veteran driver who doesn't make mistakes very often. The mistake would have to come from the pit crew or a bad call or incident that wasn't their fault. I think Brad Keselowski gets the win in this race and wins the championship, just based on how well that team has run with the 750 horsepower rules package. So I don't think it'll be the most exciting championship pick. I personally think like Chase Elliott or even Denny Hamlin would be a little more exciting, more interesting and intriguing. I think it's going to go to Brad Keselowski.
So that's a good idea. For me though, who's going to win this race? He's angry. He's pissed off. He don't care who's there or what's going on. He wants to prove something. Kevin Harvick is going to go out and win. He may even be willing to wreck a Championship 4 member to get it.
Whoa! Just out of spite? Well, wow! I don't know about that.
And when we get into my championship picks,
all right, you'll tell us our story in a minute.
Yes.
I'm excited to hear this one.
You're right. I'm boring. I'm going back. I'm reverting back to season 1 memedom here and going Kevin Harvick. I mean, we were talking about how he's like not been as strong, at Phoenix recently. But if I'm not mistaken, he had a top 5, if not finished, I think second in the spring. He led laps, so I think he's always stronger in the fall. And I think that he'll be stronger this time around. And I wouldn't be surprised if Danny's right and he ends up crashing a Championship 4 driver. And you know what? Just because it's 2020 and I'm not saying this is my pick, because there's still 3 championship picks left that I can use on this. Just because it's 2020 and because everybody needs to have the same crap sandwich as everyone else, getting worse and worse as the year goes on. Watch it be Chase Elliott. He crashes.
You guys know it's not Ben Rhodes driving the 4 car this week. Doesn't have to. Kevin Hart, he doesn't just crash people every week. What are we doing?
But it's 2020.
He's angry now. He's angry now.
And it's 2020.
It's gonna be the ultimate Kevin Harvick heel turn.
All right. Well,
I'm just going. It's still 2020.
I'm curious to hear your championship picks now.
Well, looking like the chat gave theirs, they were picking Logano big time earlier.
Really?
So,
Yeah,
so I think
so is
Logano's
my
their
girlfriend.
champion.
She's rooting for Joey Logano. I don't know what to make of that. We might have a problem here.
See, and then there's my girlfriend who absolutely despises Joey Logano.
Even though she just
with a
started
passion.
watching racing not long ago.
She can't, and I swear, and this is not my take her. She can't stand his smile, and I'm like, I was like, oh, go ahead.
Natalie just likes to root for the most controversial drivers. The first race we went to, she was happy that Kyle Busch won because she's like, oh, people booed. Like, that's exciting. Okay. So I think she likes drivers that get
Nice.
I think that's what it really comes down to.
So she would have been an Earnhardt fan back in the day then.
Probably. Yeah, now she's a Joey
Or a Gordon fan.
Yeah. She's probably
Danny,
a Ben Rhodes fan, too. God.
So, Danny, you and I are the only people that don't have our championship picks in yet. Who you got?
Well, before I do that, I just want to go ahead and say this. We had a good super check come in there from Urban Alvarado, so appreciate that. 999. Although this weekend, it's the final race, commend NASCAR for getting season in spite of struggles and uncertainty. We made it. Now let's get the race in and see what happens in the desert of Phoenix. And on that note, here's what I see happening. I have Kevin Harvick winning this race. And I think Jarrett said this. I have him moving or wrecking Chase Elliott to get the win.
I was at least saying it would happen just because it's 2020. Like, that'd be something funny to happen. You're actually going all in.
I see it happening, and I see it playing in the favor of Brad Keselowski to get his second championship.
Wow. Story time.
But not winning the
drama.
Not winning the race, but getting his second championship, being the first guy to do that under this platform.
All right, I write everyone's picks down, so I already have mine written down here. So yeah, I picked Harvick to win. I'm looking.
How brave.
Sorry, before we move on, I got a text from Claudia. Boo, your pick sucks.
Dang.
Oh, she ain't gonna like mine then. No, I'm going, and I think this. Listen, Chase Elliott has the speed here, so I think he'll be up front. But I think whether it's for like second, third, fourth, or whatever, I think he's going to either get moved or crashed out of the way by Joey Logano.
Oh,
because we need maximum suffering in 2020 for the. We need maximum suffering in 2020 for NASCAR fans.
You say Logano, I say Keselowski, because I think back to earlier in the season, he got 2 wins solely on the bad luck of Chase Elliott. So that's why I had him winning the championship.
See, I say Logano simply because it is the karma that NASCAR fans seemingly will receive at the end of the season, and I want to see. I don't necessarily want to see Joey Logano win the championship, but I want to see the explosion afterwards. It doesn't matter if you're watching the race, what for, you get no relief from 2020.
Dalton Good's Twitter would be a blessing that night.
I would tag him immediately in the first tweet after Joey Logano. You heard it here first. First tweet after Joey Logano if he wins the championship, I will tag Dalton Good. I want everyone who can to retweet and like it, so he has to see Logano raising his arms up just because I can. I have no driver, no dog in this fight. I just want to watch the world burn, man. I want to be like, when it comes to somebody commenting on NASCAR and watching it, I want to be like the Heath Ledger Joker. I want to see it burn. I want to see everybody just going at each other. It's fun.
See, I feel like the even bigger more dramatic narrative would be if it's Denny Hamlin who knocks Chase Elliott out of the way to get his first championship. It'd be like Chick Hicks in the movie Cars. He's finally won a championship, gets out on stage, and the booze. There'd be like 8,000 people there. It would sound like 8 million people. The booze, not the alcohol, but the booze for Denny Hamlin, if that's how he wins his one and possibly only championship. God.
The booze would happen. The booze would happen whenever Brad Keselowski ultimately wins.
Rusty says, "I'd never watch again."
because he total Rusty. Anyone but Denny, baby.
Anyone but Denny.
Anyone but Denny.
Claudia pointed out something cool here. All three of our significant others are rooting for different championship drivers. Claudia's rooting for Chase Elliott, Natalie's rooting for Joey, and Riss is rooting for Denny.
Gosh, what a time.
Damn, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, and yet we all picked Penske drivers. So.
Oh, and then Dr. Pepper 76 said Danny B picks Claudia's favorite driver to crash. Danny B sleeping on the couch tonight.
Oh, gosh.
There will be updates later, folks, on Twitter. Go on Danny B Talks Twitter account.
Has Danny B destroyed his home life? Find out on the next NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
The marriage is ruined all because of NASCAR.
All because of Chase Elliott.
He shows up to the finale next week in a box.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like I have to bring the camera like up here like this close, and everyone's like, Danny, why is it so close? I'm just trying to hide the fact that I'm at McDonald's using their Wi-Fi.
You're using my Wi-Fi.
Danny, it's just one giant pixel. It's that's why. Well, this is a beautiful way to end the night. The final.
Yes.
I know we got everyone laughing because I just heard Claudia laughing in the other room.
Oh man. Well, you know what? It is like you're saying. It's a good place to stop. Next week is the finale of this season. We've been doing this thing now for 3 years.
3 años.
What has happened to our life?
I don't know.
Last year's pretty damn good.
Jared has glasses now. That's about all that's changed.
Oh yeah. But yeah, next week, Eric, we're on your channel next week.
Woo! We got some surprises for y'all. Hopefully, I guess. We don't want to make any big announcements like we've been doing lately. We've had some exciting guests on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Don't want to write any cash any checks. I can't. What the hell? That's the saying.
I want to cash a check. What are you talking about?
I don't want to make any promises I can't keep. But we have some very exciting things in the works for next Wednesday show. Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time on my YouTube channel. So subscribe if you are not already. It'll be the three of us. We'll be joined by, I think, one of our good friends. We want to say exactly who. We'll be good. We'll be someone y'all recognize.
We can.
Real Radman will be on for at least part of the show. So that will be great to have him on. Different perspective for sure than the rest of us on a lot of NASCAR and playoff and championship related things. So we'll have him on the show, as well as some hopefully very high profile and maybe highly decorated guests at some point or another. So stay tuned for announcements later this week. And of course, tune in next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, the final podcast of the season. It's bittersweet.
And after
guys,
what?
I totally forgot something.
Oh no!
I forgot my Dale call at home.
Oh my God!
I cannot believe that.
I didn't stick the landing. Apparently, Rusty will find this funny, and Denny delivers won't. Apparently, I'm the Denny Hamlin of the podcast, where I just cannot close out the deal. I like Denny though. I'll be honest. So I'm not trying to rip on him too much. But sorry. Dale call will be back next week. It's in the shop getting repairs. It needs new battery.
Lewis Hamilton is not going to be on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Come on now, guys. Let's be real. Come on.
Let's see. Well, there's a 32-second YouTube video with the Dale call. Maybe I could just play that.
I have my Dale call, but it's not very photogenic. It's ugly. It's the camera.
Go for it. We can change it up.
All right. I have stolen and repainted Jarrett's Dale call. Which end do you blow into? This one.
Whatever one has the fire at the end of it.
How do I blow this thing?
Do you not ever use your Dale call on a weekly basis?
No, this thing is dusty. Holy crap.
Maybe you don't want to use it.
No, this thing, the engine's been a little cold. Are we done? I just want to make sure we're done. I don't want to deafen our audience until I know we're done.
Nothing here.
Is there anything we should maybe, because next week's our last episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we say anything maybe for next year?
Maybe
we'll be back next year.
Yeah, we'll be back. We can probably say it next week, but I know that I don't know, like maybe we'll have like you know what we should do? We should have okay, we should do like what the Marvel movies do and just have an after credit scene. Like that would be hilarious. We should seriously do that. Let's just like have a random after credit scene.
Yeah.
We'll get Chris Evans on board and everything else. Have like some cameo come up too. Totally, let's do it.
We're gonna have Jimmy Johnson and reveal. I'm back, guys.
Jimmy Johnson's the producer of the NASCAR Weekly podcast.
No, you know how what was it at the end of Avengers? It said Spider-Man will return. Jimmy Johnson will return.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, how about that? We'll do after. All right, confirmed. Totally, we're gonna do an after credit scene next week on the NASCAR Weekly podcast. Be sure to watch it at the end of the episode. On top of pretty cool guests we have on, Real Radman, and maybe 2 or 3 others. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out. We'll figure it out. We do this on a week-to-week basis.
All right, blow into your Durndale call already.
My ding dang Dale call. All right, peace out, everyone. Thanks for watching. Oh God.
So that's what it sounds like.
The power.
After all that we've been through, this ain't the end of me.
Just point at the screen.
Go now.
The power.